Build your better breakfast at Subway with the tasty 250 combo, a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee, and any delicious egg muffin melt. And don't hit the snooze on this deal. Right now, come in before 11 a.m. for a $5 foot-long breakfast sub. Subway, eat fresh. The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. It's a sunny day in Boston, Massachusetts. That's why I sound terrible on this crappy hotel phone, but I'm here for LeBron, Wade, Chris Bosh, whoever the hell else is on the team, playing the Boston Celtics, start of the NBA season tonight. Of course, that's not going to stop us from talking to our friend Cousin Sal. Week 8 lines, and I have some good news. Cousin Sal, you didn't hang yourself last night, so that was a relief.
I tried, but Wade Phillips threw out a red challenge flag, and then they untied the noose for no good reason.
I texted you during that game. I feel bad. I might have changed the course of the game. It was 10-0, and I said, wow, and everything was going against the Giants, and I texted you and said, wow, their fix is really in for the Cowboys tonight. And almost immediately things changed. I'm sorry.
It is devastating. Like, you know, as a Cowboys fan, I should know better. But, yeah, we were up 10-0. We had already in 3 minutes forced as many turnovers as we had the whole year. And we're up 10-0, and already I'm looking ahead to the Jaguars. Like an idiot, I'm looking ahead to the next game. And one broken clavicle later, I'm now rooting for John Kitna and Roy Williams. I'm rooting for the 2007 Lions, I guess.
At what point did you remember that John Kitna is not a good quarterback?
I thought he was like a slightly better version than Brad Johnson. And we're not going to win even 2 or 3 more games with him, but I would like to see him on a full week of practice. But it's just the same thing. Like, teams could blitz us at will, and we can't. I mean, I hope Tony Romo gets a little more credit now. When you see how bad John Kitna will be, he'll get a little more credit for withstanding this storm every week. But
when Kitna came in, I said to myself, well, that guy was a competent. I mean, he was at least a backup in fantasy 2-3 years ago, so it can't be that bad. And then I looked up his career stats, and he's 46 and 69 as a starter. He's played in 1 playoff game. He's like 39.
yeah,
38 or 39. Like,
he's 38, and like just imagine if this happened to an NBA player who was like pretty good, and then like just didn't play for 3 or 4 years. And
yeah.
Is he expected to be good at 38, 39 years
And
old?
he wasn't even pretty good. I think he was probably below mediocre.
Yeah, that's
I
what
would
I
say.
meant. That's what I meant when I said
Yeah. He came in, I'm like, maybe he'll get him fired up, and the passes just started sailing around.
Yeah. Well,
I felt bad for Des Bryant. Des Bryant kind of seemed like he moved into FU mode early with everything.
That guy he's the only player on the team who plays hard, and I love him. He's going to be great, and he really could have maybe put up all-pro numbers if he had someone decent throwing to him. But
the Pats kept their streak alive of continuing to trade out of spots in which future all-pros were taken.
Oh, what they do?
Michael Oher, we traded that pick.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews, traded that pick. Des Bryant, traded that pick. Mm-hmm. 3 all-pros, and somehow we're still one of the best 3 teams of the week. I can't figure it out.
And you have the entire first round of draft picks, so.
Yeah, let's forget that too. And plus, we'll talk about this when we do the lines, but the Patriots caught one of the great breaks. Like, is there a better week ever to catch this Vikings team?
No. Do you feel like you're a little bit lucky? Like you're good and you're lucky. Like, I know you're like depressed that you're 5-1. Like, you talk to every Patriots fan, and like I'm like, you're 5-1 in a crappy league. Why are you so upset about it? But just little things happening, like a receiver catching a ball and spiking it before he goes down, and you guys picking the ball up, and just the backwards passes that should be jumped on by the other team, and they're not. Like, it
was all stuff that went the Patriots' way from 2001 to 2004, and then it shifted with the Denver game in the playoffs when Champ Bailey had the 99-yard interception, and Ben Watson knocked the ball out, and it somehow crossed at a 45-degree angle in some direction that none of the 28 cameras could figure out whether it was a touchback or not. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do remember.
Went against us, and we just have not really gotten a break since, other than the Baltimore pass interference during the 18-1 season. But now it seems like the luck has kind of come back a little. I agree with you.
The luck is in Tom Brady's beautiful, beautiful locks, I think.
Maybe that's what he had to do.
Yep, keep growing
he had to grow his hair out. And also, even you look at, like, they played Miami during the week. They fired their special teams coach. Mm-hmm. There's the reason we won the Miami game. It was the special teams swung the game in the second half. And then last week, San Diego, just catching them. Vincent Jackson's not back yet. Guys are hurt. North Turner's on the chopping block. Like, he couldn't. So maybe, yeah, it's one of those things. You need a little luck. Dallas doesn't have it, unfortunately. Could we see an 8-8 wild card team in the NFC?
Yeah, possibly. I was thinking about it. I think Atlanta could be decent. And the Giants, it's really kind of weird, like, ranking the teams now, though, isn't it? Like, I know we have to because we do a weekly thing, and you write a column, and people like to see this. But it's kind of like you're one of your kids saying, I want to be a pilgrim when I grow up. And you're like, whoa, this is crazy. I got to talk to my wife about this. Like, it's stupid to overreact because there are going to be good teams come December in both conferences. And
that's why, I wrote for my column, I always write power polls, and I usually do one like in week 4 and week 8. Mm-hmm. And I haven't felt right about doing one yet because I just think it's like throwing dog crap against the wall. You don't know. Like last week I would have had Philly as the number 1 NFC team and probably put them 4th or 5th, but I didn't feel right. And now, I don't even think they're in the top 10.
And where do you rank a team like the Ravens? Like, I think high on both our lists last week and the week before. Like, they beat really good teams, and if they lose, it's a close one that they should have won. And then they barely survived horrible Buffalo Bills at home. So,
right.
What do you even do with it?
Well, I think the one thing, and I texted this to you last night, the one thing I think we've learned, and the Titans-Philly game is a really good example of this. If it's an AFC-NFC game, you might want to just back the AFC until it shifts the other way, because the 12th best team in the AFC might be the 4th best team in the NFC. Like I look at the Denver-San Fran game in London,
right?
And we haven't guessed the line yet, and I'm going to guess San Fran by 3 on that. But I think, if San Fran was in the AFC and Denver was in the NFC, Denver might be 4-3. I don't know. Maybe they're just in a really, really good conference. So
I agree. And there was maybe 6 minutes on Sunday where I'm like, oh, the NFC's making their move. The Eagles are hanging on against the Titans, and Atlanta against Cincinnati, and I'm just.
Well, I'm not going to give up on Green Bay yet because I do think they're banged up, and I think ultimately, even though I don't like the coach at all, I think ultimately that team, when Ryan Grant comes back, they'll be able to run the ball more and stuff like that. But right now, I'd say the team that can do the most out of anyone in the NFC, like the team that has the most going for them, is Atlanta if they're home. Seems like Atlanta, at least we know, has a home field advantage, and they're going to be tough to beat there. So if they can get a 1 seed, it's just a tough building, And it might be like what happened to Arizona a couple years ago, where they have that home game and they just make it happen.
They could. The Giants could be tough too. I hate to say it, but they never put up 10 points in a game, and their defense plays tough when they want. It seems.
The one thing about the Giants is they're hit or miss. Yeah. When they hit, it's huge. It's like a big pass play. It's a big sack. But, they have the special teams issues. You knew Dallas was going to get a touchdown on special teams yesterday.
Right.
They have Eli seems to just throw it up for grabs. And I'm not sure how well they run block. It seems like in Dallas wore down, and I think the Romo thing just killed their.
Man.
But it seemed like, at least in that first quarter, it seemed like Eli just couldn't even. It didn't have 2 seconds to breathe, and then Romo goes out, and the air goes out of the building. But so who would you bet if your life was dependent on it right now for NFC?
I'm going Giants. I think they have the Patriots mystique of the NFC. I think they have a lot of luck on their side, like you just said, Eli Manning just throws those balls up, and
it's amazing.
Still catching balls off their helmets and
I know
breaking tackles and stupid things happening. Like I can't. By the way, I'm watching a game. I know it's because I'm a Cowboys fan. I probably think we're picked on, but do you feel stupid as a fan? Like every week, should there be 3 plays that you're like, oh, I didn't know that? Like what's reviewable, what's not reviewable? Right. Terrible spot on that third and short play in the Giants game, and then they review it or they can't review it, and it's like a yard off, and then guys getting pushed out of bounds. I feel like you see on a punt, like a guy getting pushed out of bounds and coming in and downing it all the time, and it's not called, and then it's called, and if everyone knows this rule, why after you push him out of bounds, why are they still jarring out? Like just let him go if he can't make the tackle. There's just so much stuff that you're like scratching your head. Like the NFL's done a good job of making the fans seem stupid.
I got a lot of emails yesterday, not just from readers, but even 2 of my friends, from people wondering from how John Gruden announced that game, whether in the back of his head he's thinking that he's going to be the next Dallas coach.
Absolutely.
He was very complimentary of a lot that was going on with Dallas, and there was a lot to be not complimentary about.
Yep.
And he chose not to be uncomplimentary at all, which, I think he's effusive in general when he does these games. There's no question. But there was stuff that happened last night where anybody who's announcing the game just wouldn't be able to help themselves, and I thought he was restrained. And it made me think then I started thinking about, well, why doesn't Jerry Jones fire Wade Phillips yet?
I actually heard him. If you listen back, he high-fived Jaworski in the booth after some sounders.
It just made me think, it just makes no sense why Jones wouldn't fire Phillips at this point, because he's not going to be the coach next year, so why not do it now? And they're not going anywhere, but maybe it's because he thinks that he has a chance to hire either Gruden or Cowher, but it got my brain going last night.
Well, I know, and I was thinking about it a lot too, and especially in the pregame where Gruden he actually said, this team is very close. They have great players. They're very close, and it just doesn't add up. I like that their coach has blonde hair. I can't put my finger on what's wrong. Yeah. It was weird.
At one point, Jenkins committed a pass interference.
Yeah.
And Gruden goes, they show the replay, and Gruden goes, you can't play pass defense any better than that. And it's like, well, actually you can, because you got a flag on it. I'm positive you can do better than that. But he was just in that mode the whole game. And thinking about it, he makes a ton of sense for them.
A ton of what?
I mean, you'd be fired up, right? You'd be all in on that, right?
Here's the only thing. Is Jerry Jones ever going to be able to hire a coach, or is the coach ever going to agree to play for Jerry Jones if he's not allowed to, if he's handcuffed like he does with these guys?
Well, Parcells kind of made him stand in the corner, basically, right?
But that's what I'm wondering if people have learned from that. I mean, Parcells might have poisoned the well a little and said, "Forget it. You just can't do it there." But
somebody sent me a great email last night about there was a challenge, and they showed on the sideline Dave Campo imploring Wade Phillips to throw the flag. It was like this brain trust. It was like the Yalta conference of bad coaches. And he was like, if you're a Cowboys fan, you just lock out right then and there, right? There's your brain trust, Dave Campo and Wade Phillips?
Absolutely. And the one silver lining I was thinking is Tony Romo being driven into the turf. His arm was pinned, and a call we definitely would have gotten a 15-yard penalty against. But
right.
The one thing I was thinking is, thank God this didn't happen in week 2, because if it happens in week 2, like Brady got hurt in week 2, right?
Brady got hurt 8 minutes into week 1. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I didn't know. Okay, so let's say this happens even in week 3 and the Cowboys are 1-2. I think Phillips gets a free pass for the rest of the year. I think they feel bad for him. He gets a sympathy year, and then we're stuck with him until 2012 or 2013. So it could have been worse, Cowboy fans.
Well, now you have the big draft pick coming.
Yeah.
I still think 8-8 could do it. I swear, there could be an 8-8 wild card team. Find me 6 teams that can go 9-7 in the NFC.
Well, I think the Saints will right the ship. The Falcons, the Eagles.
The Saints have to go 9-7, right? That's a complete disaster if they don't go 9-7.
Yeah, they will. I don't know what's going on there exactly.
Does anyone in the NFC West go 9-7? Seahawks, maybe.
The Chiefs are looking at that, and I was gonna bug you to maybe we should bet them to win the division because they're only
the Chiefs or the Seahawks.
The Chiefs.
I wish we had done that 3 weeks ago. They had the cream puff schedule.
It's still not unreasonable. It's minus 150, so maybe that's the way to go.
We'll have to discuss. We have our Pittsburgh and Green Bay bets, which look pretty good. Pittsburgh, let's quickly talk about last week, then we'll do the lines. Two devastating non-covers last week. Pittsburgh, Roethlisberger getting stripped on the 1 foot line.
Yeah.
And then them kicking the field goal and winning by 1 but not covering. And then Tampa Bay, I don't know if you watched this game. They get the winning touchdown with like 20 seconds left. Complete chaos. Everybody's celebrating. And they're up 1. They have to go for the 2-point. And it's almost like they should have just kneeled.
Yeah.
Kneel down play would have been preferable to what happened, which was the delayed QB draw that everybody knew they were going to run.
They didn't care, yeah.
Why don't teams call timeout there? That's another one of my missions. Nobody will listen to me on the Madden coordinator, so maybe they'll listen to me on this. When you have the go-ahead touchdown in the last minute and you have timeouts left, call a timeout and settle everybody down.
Yeah, it's true. They don't care about the gamblers, Bill. I'm telling you.
It's just a bad football move because now they're up 1. If the other team had returned a kickoff to like the 50, they could potentially lose.
Yeah.
But it's like teams, they just throw away that 2-point. I think this year's had the worst 2-point conversions I can remember of any year.
Yeah.
Like the worst set of plays, like these weird fade patterns and QB draws, and it's like every play has been hopeless.
The fade is the worst on the 2-point conversion because you first of all, you know it's coming, and second, it's not high percentage anyway in that kind of play.
How about when has the rollout ever worked on the 2-point?
The bootleg, you mean, or just the rollout?
The rollout when the guy, he might run it or he might throw it, but everybody's on that side of the field, and within a second you know whether it's going to work or not, and if he doesn't throw it right away, it has no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, then you got nothing. Yeah.
Seems like you should be able to run the ball for 2 yards, spread the receivers out, and get 2 yards if you're a good offense. Yep. But what do I know? All right, let's do Week 8.
All right, Week 8. Here we go. You're up 5 weeks to 1 week to 1 tie, so
beautiful.
A lot of work to do, and I didn't necessarily do too well this week. So Jacksonville at Dallas, they actually have a line on this game. They're counting on Kitna as a quarterback.
And Jacksonville coming off 2 terrible losses.
Yeah, and it could be Alman again. I don't know.
I don't think Dallas can give less than 6. I know Kitna's involved. I'm going to say Dallas by 6.
I said 4. Why 6? This is an awful team week after week, and you got it. You ended up getting it because it's 6.5. But
I just think it's because if they want people to have to tease it to at least have 6+ points to work with. Jacksonville's terrible.
Yeah,
you can win. You can beat Jacksonville by a touchdown.
But it's no longer a must-win. You know, you get that point taken away and everything.
Put it this way: would you bet Jacksonville +4? No.
I might. I mean, that means if Dallas loses, you win, right?
True.
What do you need to do? All right, we'll see. By the way, they should start this McGee, this third stringer, who has better upside than John Kitna, but of course Phillips won't because he can't stand like a learning curve with a couple of losses. He thinks in his head he could still keep his job, but that's what they should do. All right, Buffalo at Kansas City.
I thought this was the toughest of. I did these lines on the plane yesterday, and I had a lot of trouble with this. I'm going to say Kansas City by 8.5.
All right, you get it. I went higher. I said 9.5, and it's only 7.5.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Buffalo, they're the cheap touchdown team this year.
Yeah.
And I said this on the podcast last week and somehow ended up picking Baltimore anyway. But
Fitzpatrick's numbers, if you look at them, are insane. Like he's got like 110 quarterback rating, and I think he's like 10 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. But
also, that Steve Johnson, that Buffalo receiver, he's one of those guys that, like, he had another big week this week, so you go, yeah, I should put in for him, and somebody's had him for 3 weeks. You have no idea. He's that guy this year.
For all year,
He's the Mike Sims Walker of this year.
It's weird because at the beginning of the year, what would this spread have been? KC minus 2.5 or 3? So I guess 7.5 is.
And this is if you were riding KC, St. Louis until last week, and Atlanta alone, just the first 3. I mean, all those teams have to be at least 5-2 or 5-1 against the spread, I'm guessing.
Yeah. All right, Denver at San Francisco. Like you mentioned before, this is in London.
Yeah, I forgot. I added a half point. I have San Fran by 3.5. And I like Denver.
All right, so this is where my head is. I had Denver by 2, and I saw San Fran as a pick right now.
Oh.
So I get that then, right? Yeah.
So they must have factored in the AFC NFC thing. I was guessing that they wouldn't factor that in.
Well, first of all, this is hardly a home game for San Francisco, so you can't. Why would you make them favored in the first place?
I just feel like they're 3 points better.
Really, they're 1-6. Denver's 2-5, and probably could have won every game except that horrible Raiders game.
Denver started out, I think, 6-0 last year?
Yeah.
And they finished 7-9, and they're 2-5 this year.
This is what they do, you're saying?
So no, I'm saying the last 17 games they're 3-14.
Oh yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
San Fran is 1-6, but in 4 of those games, they were right there. They should have been Atlanta. They choked in the Saints game. The Carolina game, I still can't figure out how they lost that one. And I don't know who David Geddes is. I've never heard of that guy until this weekend.
Yeah.
But Denver's awful. Oakland, that was like watching a college game.
It's funny that we're sending this game overseas. Like this could start another war with England, I'm telling you.
What would you have done if you were in my shoes and you found out right before the kickoff and you had Michael Bush in your fantasy lineup and you found out that McFadden was playing and you also had Danny Woodhead of the Patriots? How would you have handled that?
I would have handled it very poorly unless the guy I was playing had Kenny Britt on his bench.
Yeah, we had the legendary, I hate telling fantasy stories, but I had McFadden on my bench, and I went against the guy with Kenny Britt on his bench. So somehow it evened out. It was bizarre. You don't usually get 2 40-pointers on your bench. You don't get 2 40-pointers. What do you get 8 40-pointers a year?
Yeah, and that's
not even on your team in the league.
Yeah, makes no sense. All right, Carolina at St. Louis.
I was impressed by Carolina last week. I thought they were frisky, but they were home. I think St. Louis now against a bad team has to get at least 6 points at home because they're good. So I'm going to say 6.5.
St. Louis by 6.5?
Yeah.
No, it's 3, and I actually hit it exactly.
It's 3?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I know. You think it should be higher. They're one of the teams that are just impossible to figure out. I think both of these teams are impossible week to week. So,
but I mean, the Rams are a good home team. I think we know that. They overachieve at home.
Is Steven Jackson playing? Didn't he sprain his finger or something?
Is that why?
It started off at 3 before all the Steven Jackson stuff. But
I've been way off on 2 games.
All right, I like it. There's a reason to live again. Washington at Detroit. You'll get this. Yeah,
I got this one. This to me is actually, I waffled on this because I had either Washington by 2.5 or 3, and I'm going to say 3.
You say Washington by 3.
Washington by 3.
All right, I said Washington by 2.5. It's Detroit by 2.5, and I'm insulted by this line. This makes 0 sense.
Wow, way off this week. That's not a good sign for me.
4-3 for Washington's 4-3. Detroit's 1-5. Like maybe Detroit wins this game, but how do they start off a favorite?
I'm going to say that by game time, Washington is favored in that game.
Wow, that would move a lot in 4 days.
Yeah. I think that at least goes to Pick'em or Washington by 1.
Mm-hmm. Shanahan thing. If the Cowboys had Shanahan, the defense would be in it every game. I hate crying about it, but it makes me sick.
Is McNabb a good quarterback anymore?
No, I don't think so. But really, like if McNabb Romo put up numbers like McNabb did last week, it wouldn't even be close. We wouldn't be in the game. So, but he sparks the defense, though. Green Bay at the Jets.
Another one I had trouble with. Last week was so easy for me, and this week I'm going to say Jets by 6.
Wow, okay, you nailed that exactly. I said,
all right, well, there you go.
4. I mean, the Jets were giving 4 to Minnesota last Monday night, right? Why would they give 6 to Green Bay after beating them?
I don't trust that coach. I don't trust teams that can't run the ball on the road because against a good defense like that. It seems like the Jets could take away the passing and make them try to run it.
Yeah, coming off the bye, maybe they got an extra point there or something. Miami at Cincinnati.
Also, AFC, NFC, that game.
Oh, I forgot. All right, so how many AFC and NFC? There's Denver, San Francisco, and Green Bay Jets. We should keep track.
And
Jacksonville, Dallas. Maybe throw that out.
Yeah, those are the three. Pats, Vikings.
Pats,
right?
What do you mean?
Pats, Vikings is AFC.
Oh, yeah, coming up, yeah. All right, Miami at Cincinnati.
I continue to think Cincy sucks, but I think they're going to be favored by 3 in this game.
I said Cincy by 3 also. They're favored by 2, so we tie there.
Carson Palmer, who has had 2 really good fantasy weeks now, week 1 against the Pats and then last week, both happened when they were down by like 20-plus points on the road, and the other team was basically in the pseudo-prevent, and he put up some big stats. But I'm not fooled by you, Carson Palmer.
Yeah, he's a great garbage time quarterback, though.
All-timer. He's an all-time garbage time fantasy performance.
Especially in the dome. Like, if it's cold and there's weather, maybe he'll have a little problem. But, yeah, you could bet he's going to put up 2 or 3 touchdowns in the dome and lose. But I know we've talked about Miami getting screwed, even though you saw it as the people who bet the Steelers getting screwed. But do you hate the refs any more than you do now? I mean, these are the dumbest people in the world. But
wait a second, though. Wasn't the play the exact same play that happened in that Washington-New Orleans game last year?
Washington-New Orleans.
The overtime game.
Yeah.
New Orleans should have lost. That was the exact same call, wasn't it? And it went the same way. They decided that they couldn't figure out who had the ball.
But isn't it just goes against the spirit of the game for them? I know they called it a touchdown, but they need to unpile the bodies on the spot there, knowing that there's a 50% chance they're wrong about the fumble call. They can't just indignantly run from the pile and say, we ruled this a touchdown on the field. I mean, if that happened at the 10 and there was an immediate fumble and a recovery, they'd be pulling bodies off and figuring out who had it, wouldn't they?
Well, how about the guy whose one job it is to make sure everybody's feet are in on a touchdown in the end zone, standing right next to Percy Harvin and calling that a catch?
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. That's awful.
Was he not close enough to you? Do you need to be closer than 5 feet to tell that his whole foot was out of bounds?
They've gotten really bad lately. Really bad. All right, Tennessee at San Diego. So we're tied 4-4, including the ones we both win together. And these are the late afternoon games. I
have San Diego by 3, and I think that this is a game that everybody's going to take Tennessee, and anytime that happens, Tennessee screws over everybody. So I'm just warning you now.
All right. You get this, and I like your logic, but it's 3.5. I said 4, so we split it. We tied there, right? Wait, it's 3.5. Yeah. So, all right, it's 5.
I'd be very careful, people jumping on that Tennessee bandwagon.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But San Diego they seem so soft. It just seems so soft that not enough is made out of this Ryan Matthews thing. They can't run the ball. They can't commit to any one of these guys, and it's hurting them.
They have especially the part where Tomlinson has looked fantastic. Mm-hmm. They got rid of an icon and then traded up to draft this guy who just I'm not sure he's good.
No.
Haven't seen anything from him yet.
All right, Minnesota at New England. There's no line on this, so let's not even guess it because Brett Favre's going to play, right?
Yeah.
What do you figure, like 5.5, 6 if he plays?
Considering he's on a broken ankle, I would have said Pats by 6. Yeah. And if Tavares is involved, then that goes to 7.
Yeah. Why is he still celebrating so much with the hobbled ankle? Like, is it that he knows that the cameras are on him every single time, so it doesn't matter, so he's got to play it up? Like, it can't be that exciting anymore that you need to jump around after each touchdown that's called back anyway.
Whitlock had a good tweet after that game. You know, we give Brett Favre all this crap, but the bottom line is the guy's delivered some really super entertaining moments over the last couple years, well past his prime.
I agree.
He's been like 9-10 games that came down to the last play, and he'll throw an interception, then he'll throw this 45-yard dart that goes through 19 guys and finds someone in the back of the end zone. Like, he's almost like an alien.
Listen, there's something to a team being exciting. Like, the Vikings are exciting. The Chargers are exciting. These teams are probably not going to be around in January. Everyone out there, you could enjoy your Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl, but
right.
Something about it exciting. Michael Jordan, I'll watch him play minor league ball. I don't care if he stinks. Let's see Vikings and Chargers. But I don't blame the coach too much anymore, Childress. I kind of feel for him. I mean, you look at now the Vikings have Harvin, now they have like Moss, and they have a good receiving core. Shanko's one of the top tight ends, and you look at Favre's stat line, and Childress is probably figuring, I could get these numbers from Tavares Jackson and not deal with the possibility of him tweeting his genitals during halftime.
This would be a fun new running segment for the podcast. Generic things that everybody seems to be saying at the same time on Monday. Because this week it was, I'll tell you what, Brad Childress has had it. Because Brett Favre's only going to be around for 3 months. Brad Childress wants to be around for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's not going to be held hostage by this guy anymore. He's looking out for himself.
That's it. All right, I fell into the trap. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be passionate about it. I wanted to make a Brett Favre penis joke.
You didn't say that. I'm saying that's what everybody was saying yesterday. It's like been this weird swing around, like a defensive, kind of a pseudo-defensive Brad Childress.
Yeah.
He should be in it for himself because Favre is basically a rental.
Yeah, but he's his rental is the problem. Didn't he go down and recruit himself and all that?
Yeah.
All right. Seattle at Oakland.
These are two of the most enigmatic teams in the league, and I have no handle on either of them. I'm going to say Raiders by 2.
All right. I got screwed up here. I said Seattle by 1. It's Raiders by 1.5, so you get it. What are you supposed to think about the 59-point juggernaut Raiders?
I will say there's a couple teams that the home road disparity is pretty significant. Like I think Atlanta's one. I think Kansas City at home, big difference with them versus being on the road. And then another one I think is obviously Seattle. Yeah. Seattle at home is a completely different team than Seattle on the road. And I know they beat Chicago 2 weeks ago, but against a team that plays reasonably well at home, you should be able to beat Seattle.
Yeah. Well, if the Raiders put up 35 this week, maybe we are looking at them to compete for the division title.
I got to hand it to Coach Fredo in Seattle because I don't know. I just being out of the NFL for 10 years, and then he comes in, he cleans house, and they didn't really have a ton of talent to begin with. It seemed pretty reasonable that they were going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And they play hard every week. You got to hand it to them.
You bring in the free agents. It's like a guy making 700 fantasy moves. And it's like, all right, calm down. Your team sucks.
Yeah.
Of course, it did when you drafted, but it's coming together for Carroll.
The one thing I did notice, they listed the payrolls of everybody's team, because it's an uncapped year, so you can spend whatever. Yeah. Seattle was like number 3 or number 4.
Well, they that high?
Yeah, they spent like $155 million or something. So when you think like a team like Tampa Bay spent, I think like 93 or 94, you have $60 million more in players that you spent.
Yeah,
has to be a little bit of an advantage.
And for that division, it's got to be a huge advantage, right?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Tampa Bay at Arizona,
what's the score right now?
I think it's. Oh no, you're up 1 now, right? 4, 5, 6-3, 6-5.
This hurts because I've been riding the Bucs, and they've come through for me a couple times, although they did not cover last week. But I like this Cards team at home. I think actually this is another team that I like at home but not on the road. I'm going to say Cards by 3.5.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, and it's 3. And I guess it's Derek Anderson starting a quarterback, but this one of these teams is going to have either 5 or 4 wins.
Can we talk about Larry Fitzgerald? Actually, I can't. It's too depressing. He murdered my fantasy team. It's over.
Yeah, I don't know what happens with some of these guys. Like, they're in a rough spot, Arizona, because it seems like they're down a lot of points early every game, but he's not getting the ball.
This is something that we should have learned with the Steve Smith era in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And some people did point out, hey, stay away from Larry Fitzgerald. He doesn't have a quarterback. And I was like, no, he's Larry Fitzgerald. He's the best receiver in the league. He'll be fine. He's always open or close to being open, and his quarterback cannot get him the ball.
No. All right, let me get this out of the way. This is the message you left after Tampa's big win against the Rams.
Did I tell you, Josh Freeman? Give him the Lombardi Trophy and every trophy you got. 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year, 82.8 passer rating. I never seen stats like that in my life. He belongs in the Hall of Fame and a cameo on the Bachelor pad.
That's exactly what I said. I don't take anything back.
Just a weird thing to say.
Josh Freeman wins football. Raheem Morris even said so afterwards. He said, hey, we think we win football games. We think we can beat anybody.
Like, take it from a guy who watches a team just turn the ball over and commit penalties all game. There must be something that has to be said for the way Tampa plays. They don't screw up. None of their players ever have big numbers statistically, but they stay in the game long enough for one last drive. And I'm sick of it, frankly.
I would love to see the Football Outsider guys are probably working on this, but I mean they might have one of the 5 worst running games of the past 20 years.
Yeah,
Tampa. They run for. The Pats ran for 19 carries, 38 yards in San Diego, which was part of what made the 4th and 1 call so indefensible. Not that they went for it, but that they decided to run it. That's Tampa every week.
Yeah, and it doesn't kill them. How does it kill every other team in the league?
Well, it seems like when they can get to the final 4 minutes and basically go 2-minute drill, that's when Freeman takes off. Maybe that should just be their offense.
Mm-hmm. All right, I need to make 2 games up. There's 2 left. I'm down 1. Pittsburgh at New Orleans. Halloween night.
Oh, I hit this one exactly.
Let's see it.
2.5 Saints.
All right. I don't know why I thought it would be I said 2. Oh, I get this. I said Saints by 2, and you said 2.5. It's +1. Pittsburgh is +1. Sorry, I got confused.
Pittsburgh is favored by 1?
Pittsburgh is favored by 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Well, what's the difference? But, I mean, something's wrong in New Orleans. I don't know.
Something's wrong in New Orleans, but you lose this game and you're not a playoff team. You got to take care of business on. Is this a Sunday night or a Monday night?
Sunday night. I mean, they got killed by the Browns. Pittsburgh's the best team.
I will say in Breeze's defense, he had a kid last week.
Yeah.
That always gets swept under the rug when unless you've had your own kid and you realize what happens to your family in that first week after that kid is born.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would play football after that. I could barely go get coffee.
No, you're right. You're right.
Oh, come on, Bill. How bad do you think Drew Brees' wife feels, though?
Well, I think
it's not nearly as hard as it is for her, right?
I agree, but when you're the husband, you're all of a sudden, you're basically you're running around, you're getting stuff, you're taking care of her. You have this new kid, you're showing off the kid. If you have other kids, you got to worry about their ego. There's a million things going on, and then on top of that, he's got to prepare for another football team.
Well, maybe the lines makers have taken that into account.
They should. I'm going to start incorporating that into my my gigantic picks analysis every week. Is whether anybody's had a kid.
Something else to consider, man. I think that gigantic birthmark is impairing his vision, too.
Stop it. Stop it.
Come on.
Terrible.
Jacqueline fed me that joke. All right. Monday night, Houston at Indy. So we're tied, buddy. We're 7-7.
We're tied. You could easily just cheat right now, and I'd never know.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Listen, we haven't had a Vegas zone game yet, and I think we finally have one. I have Colts by 5.5.
We tie for the week because I said 5.5, and it's 5. Unbelievable.
So I'm 5-1-2.
5-1-2. Yeah.
What do you think of that game?
It's disgusting.
We can't go against the Colts at night, right? I mean, we just can't.
I would almost like Houston here if it didn't mean that they'll have swept the season series, right?
And Manning at night.
Yeah. But I do think they're going to struggle with Dallas Clark a little, especially against a team like this. But I like Indy, maybe not to cover, but in a close game.
I was shocked by that. It went from, hey, Dallas Clark's hurt. Oh, when's he coming back? I don't know. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, they put him on the injured reserve. What?
Yeah. Terrible week for Dallas all around, I'd say.
Yeah. It's amazing they didn't have some Dallas movie in production that got canceled or something.
I know.
So what's our upset pick?
What do we go with? There aren't too many. God, Jacksonville was good at +6. I mean, come on already. But
they do. We don't think maybe a couple too many people on that Chiefs bandwagon?
Yeah. Well, as soon as we bet them to win the division, they'll lose. So I guess a lot of that depends on
Bills played the it's too bad Joe Meade isn't there. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Jacqueline, the way it sounded, but he would have been able to expound on this. They played the Patriots really tough.
Yeah.
Which, as it turns out, was impressive. Played at Baltimore really tough. Maybe they're not bad.
They might not be bad. They definitely. I just don't think they could stop anybody, and they're run defense was the best last week, better than it has been all year.
Well, we don't have to make an upset pick.
No, I think we do. It's in.
Oh, you think we have to?
Yeah, Jacqueline's making us do it. So.
Well, then why don't we go with Miami? Get a mini upset.
All right. Yeah, that's 2 points, but they're a better team.
A tiny little plus 140 type of upset.
And I'm going to say Texas in 6 in the World Series.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. They're fun to watch. I'm so glad. This is a Mets fan's dream, Texas and the Giants. I mean, that couldn't have worked out better.
I felt bad for my buddy Gus, diehard Mets fan, who that season went in the toilet, and then the Broncos 59-point game in Oakland, that killed their season, and I was like, wow, it's got to be rough. And then you had the Tony Romo thing yesterday, so I think you trumped them.
Yeah, thank God. I'm ahead on something.
What kind of Carlos Beltran flashback did you have when Ryan Howard didn't swing on the third?
He really needed to swing. The only thing I think it was worse for Howard because the umpire was such a douchebag about it. He went into an epileptic fit calling strike 3.
If that had been a Red Sox player, I would not have handled that well.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your best player. And Jason Worth, I think every Phillies fan would have rather had Jason Worth up at any point in any of those games, and yet Howard always seemed to be up ahead of him in a key spot.
Yeah.
But
I tell you, Billy, I knew it was coming.
What did it? I might have to listen to the dog. He's got to be out of his mind, right?
I listened to him a little yesterday. He doesn't even really have a voice yet. So he'll come back Wednesday and then he'll lose it again.
How do they promote this series? Hamilton and Lincecum?
I guess that's it, right? Yeah.
Cliff Lee still, even though no matter how many good games he pitched in a row, nobody knows who he is still outside of diehard baseball fans.
Yeah, I agree.
And nobody would be able to pick him out of a police lineup. We'll talk to you.
Hold on, let me plug the show for crying out loud. Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Oh, yeah.
We have a Dancing with the Stars cast off tonight. The beautiful John Stamos, William Shatner, Hilary Duff, and Mandy Moore. Not all tonight, but for the rest of the week.
All right, Cousin Sal, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, buddy. Have fun.
See you. All right, we have a little time left, so we weren't able to do this on Saturday, obviously, because we don't record podcasts on the weekend. But the Yankees, they lost to Texas in the 2010 American League Championship Series. He's probably cooled down by now, but just to make sure, we're going to call him anyway. Our old pal JackO. Let's see how he feels.
Complex Litigation, this is John.
Oh, Johnny!
Oh, no.
Oh, Johnny!
Oh, there he is. Good times. What's up, buddy?
Doing it by a hotel phone, no less. I had to.
Absolutely.
We'll make it short and sweet. Is there anyone you want to excoriate on the 2010 New York Yankees?
Well, you called a little late for that because I'm fully in the acceptance phase of the mourning process.
I know. Why did that have to happen on a Friday night? Why did God have to do that? Couldn't have been a Thursday?
Yeah, I know. Then you could have called me at work on Friday, and there would have been some excoriation. But, well, you know, Mr. Mom, Mark Teixeira, before he shattered his hamstring, the 0 for 14 after falling on his face in last year's postseason as well is high on my list of people that I'm not too pleased with.
Not enjoying that $180 million contract, Johnny?
No, but the good news about his hamstring was he was able to spend more time with his kids.
He was able to bend over and pick them up by
hopefully he had a chance to impregnate his wife so he could take some time off next season, too, during a crucial pennant race.
All right. Anybody else?
I wasn't a huge fan of his work. I was not a huge fan of Mr. Brian Cashman's work, who gave us the likes of Javi Vasquez and Nick Johnson at the cost of not re-signing Johnny Damon or Hideki Matsui. Although I have to admit, I wasn't really a proponent of bringing Matsui back, but Damon could have helped in that DH spot instead of relying on Marcus Timms to do something in the postseason.
I think you're nitpicking a little bit there. Isn't the Javi Vasquez thing a much bigger murder?
Yeah, because, I mean, you know, the murder of the pitching staff for the whole year, basically, like relying on him to be a starter and to be a crucial cog in your World Series machine. How anybody ever thought that was a good idea, I'll never understand.
Well, it's just the logic of it. Like, he had already not done well in New York City, and then it's like, well, maybe he'll do well now in New York City. Well, what was going to change in 4 years?
And nothing. I don't get it. I think it's like fantasy baseball, as I said before. I think where a guy GM wants to look like he's so smart that he found this diamond in the rough, and it was like that was his big mistake, but he was going to prove everybody else wrong by bringing him back, and he'd be great.
It would seem like the type of guy that the Yankees would want is the guy that you knew maybe the numbers weren't quite going to be there, but push comes to shove in a playoff game, he's going to show up, which is why why wouldn't they have gone after Derek Lowe?
I don't know. There was a big push for that. He had already been in the AL East, so he knew the drill. He could handle the pressure of big moments, big city, big series. Ground ball pitcher in a fly ball ballpark where every fly ball could be a home run. It made a lot of sense.
As a Red Sox fan, that's who I did not want them to get last winter.
Yeah, that would have been
2 winters ago. Whenever it was last winter, right?
Yeah. It was the winter. Yeah, it was December or January. I think they went out and got Javi, much to my chagrin. Who else? I was not a huge fan of Jorge Posada's work.
You go a long way with Jorge.
I know he's the core four and he's fiery, and I like Jorge, but I mean, Jorge has a fork sticking in his back. I mean, not just at the plate. It used to be you could say, well, he's a terrible catcher. I mean, I used to make a joke that the Yankees have the only catcher who can't catch the ball.
Yeah.
The balls would bounce all over off his glove, and just simple catches he couldn't even make, and it usually led to problems. But you kind of forgave him because, he was a fiery leader and his bat did the talking. But if you're not catching and you can't throw anybody out and then you're not hitting, it's a tough combo. There's a lot of miles on Jorge after 15 years behind the plate.
I'll say that he exceeded the over-under on his odometer, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they got a lot out of Jorge, but it's time. It was time to move on, basically. It's time to move on. Another one is Nick Swisher. Now, I love Nick Swisher's energy.
Be careful, Johnny.
But, I mean, it's a lot cuter to send tweets and do your salutes and be the wild, wacky guy with the pies in the face and all that. I know A.J. Burnett is the main proponent of the pies in the face, but Swisher is a big part of that. It's a lot cuter when you get a hit in the postseason. And that's 2 postseasons that he's been terrible, too. I mean, he had a huge year in the regular season, but he was just atrocious in the postseason.
A.J. Burnett?
Well, A.J. Burnett was who we thought he was. I mean, I never really wanted A.J. Burnett either, and I can't kill the Yanks for giving him a start there because they didn't want to go to guys on 3 days rest every day.
Yeah.
And, there was a chance that A.J. Burnett was going to have a big game. They stuck with him a little bit long. I can't do a second guess because I didn't want them to bring in Jabba in the situation. I figured there was a way that we could get 400-pound Benji Molina out. It turns out I was incorrect.
Were you frightened that he was on the team, Benji Molina?
No, and then when they showed that highlight montage of his big home runs that he's hit against the Yankees when he played for the Angels, right before that, I was like, oh, my God, the prescience shown by TBS there
I know.
Otherwise drove me crazy. They showed that, and he hits the 3-run homer. That's when you should have called me, was right there, because that's when I was having a meltdown of epic proportions. I mean, I was like slamming remotes and punching furniture and just having a conniption fit. That wasn't a pleasant time for my wife.
What was the worst loss?
That one. I mean, you figure, the game 2, I wasn't really pleasant to be around in game 2 either because Phil Hughes is another one. I mean, Phil Hughes, we've been hearing about what a superstar stud he's going to be for 5 years now. If you're going to be a superstar stud, Phil, then can we win one game? I mean, I can't even really kill the pitching, though. What really bummed me out was so I would say game 2 was problematic. And then you're going to lose to Cliff Lee. I love the fact now that Kevin Long, the hitting coach, there was all these quotes in the paper about how the Yankees had a plan for Cliff Lee. Apparently the plan was to stand up there looking 15 times.
Yeah, they tried to do the whole pitch count routine on him, and Cliff wasn't buying it. He was just throwing strikes. Here's another strike for you.
Cliff's like, thanks for the help. I'll just throw it right by you.
Here you go. Here's another one.
But, I mean, the problem really was the offense. I mean, when the Yankees are losing twice to Colby Lewis, who was playing for the Hiroshima Carp for the past 2 years, I kept referring to him as the Hiroshima Carp in Game 6 as they were going down in flames. You can't lose to the Hiroshima Carp twice in that series if you're the New York Yankees. With the modern, with Teixeira and A-Rod, I realized Teixeira wasn't there for Game 6, but he didn't do anything against them in Game 2. When you have a $200 million payroll in that lineup, you cannot be losing to Colby Lewis and Hunter, whose first name I don't even remember. Was it Tommy Hunter?
He was walking on pins and needles that entire start.
These guys are not Cy Young we're talking about here. You lose to Cliff Lee, fine. He's the modern postseason reincarnation of Sandy Koufax. Nothing you can do about that. But when you're losing to Colby Lewis twice, you deserve to lose. They got outplayed in every single phase of the game.
How about Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting to see that A-Rod reverted back to his pre-2009 form. I wasn't crazy. I mean, he didn't do anything either, obviously, for a big payroll. But, I'm willing to cut A-Rod a little slack. He's playing on a bad hip. He did it last year. he gets far too much glory and far too much fame because of his payroll and because of who he is. So, yeah, I wasn't nuts about his production, which was extremely lacking, but I can't kill him too badly.
I'll tell you who didn't get enough credit for helping to kill the Yankee season.
Yeah.
Rivera.
Mariano Rivera?
What did he do in the Texas series?
Well, they never had any save situations.
So
what do you mean so?
Well, he could have done stuff.
Like what?
What was he doing? The season's going down in flames. Where was he?
I said in Game 6 they were going to bring him in about the fourth inning if they had a lead.
I will say, though, in all seriousness, it did kind of show that, there's always that argument about who's the more valuable Yankee, Jeter or Rivera.
Yeah.
A closer is always just going to be a luxury. And somebody that, you almost definitely need him to win a World Series, but you don't always definitely need him. Like, he didn't even pitch in that series.
No, but I mean, because they never had a lead. Yeah, he's only going to be valuable in the sense that you can shorten games because you can bring him in the eighth inning, and so if you get a lead in the seventh, you're hopeful that the game is over and you turn to him and he can close the door for you. Whereas other teams are going to have to try and mix and match and get you through the ninth. You feel comfortable in the seventh inning, the game's basically over if you can turn the ball over to him.
But the way we use closers, Jonah Carey and I were emailing about this actually. The way we use closers nowadays, you can almost make them irrelevant if the games break a certain way. And he was saying that maybe we need to start rethinking about how we use closers. And maybe, as weird as this sounds, maybe Rivera should have come into that Phil Hughes game. Like, you were joking, but maybe that's really how closers should start to be used. I don't know. But, you think like that guy's one of the best three players on the team, and he had no effect on that series whatsoever, then maybe we need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. I don't know.
It's interesting. There has not been any closer blow-ups this whole postseason, has there?
Well, I thought, you could have made
there was actually game one it wasn't really their closer, though, but when the Rangers blew game one, that was a bullpen breakdown, but it wasn't their closer.
It was a bullpen breakdown, but there's a case where maybe you bring in Feliz in the eighth inning.
Yeah, so that was more of a Washington.
Stem the rally then, and then even though it's 5-1, you try to just throw some water on it. I bet over the next decade, we rethink a little bit. Because I thought the Giants manager did some unconventional stuff that worked, but he wasn't afraid to bring in Brian Wilson in the eighth at all.
Yeah.
What did you think when he brought in Lincecum?
Well, that's one of the things I love about the postseason is that you see things like that. Like Sabathia told Girardi he was available for an inning or whatever needed him for in Game 6 if the Yankees had a lead or there was a lefty matchup. So, I mean, I like to see that, and it happened when the Yankees lost to the Mariners in '95. They the Mariners brought in Randy Johnson. That's one of the cool things about the postseason is that a starter will do that.
Right.
And you do that. You have the guts to do that.
I saw my dad today. We were talking about the Giants, and I was saying how I watched that Giants series thinking how the Giants fans would feel because having been in that spot before 2004, where you're looking for signs that the wheels are going to come off the entire time.
Yes.
And when they brought Lincecum in, if that had been the Red Sox, I would have had a heart attack.
If they brought in Pedro in that situation,
just right away I would have had a heart attack because it just felt wrong, and it's fine if he had 2 days rest, but to do that when he had just pitched 2 nights before, it just seemed like a real panic move to me. And then he gets one out and he gets two base runners to take him out. I would have bet anything that the Philly was going to win that game after that, and then somehow they got out of it.
Yeah, it was weird. You're right. I see what you're saying, but
if you're a team with the baggage, the emotional baggage of 5+ decades or whatever, and that sequence breaks down like that, and now you're bringing in your closer to get 5 outs, and you're on the road, and crowd's going crazy. You already blew Game 5 with Lincecum. I just thought, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be an epic disaster. Just epic. We'll be talking about this 50 years from now. How this
is going to ruin Lincecum long term.
And then immediately he got a double play.
Yeah.
But it
worked out.
Yeah. Are you excited to see Barry Bonds in the World Series?
I am. Yeah. I want to see what his head looks like these days.
What do you expect from the Yanks?
Well, they're going to, throw the city at Cliff Lee, and, hopefully his relationship with CC, and he wants to, he's not crazy about pitching in Texas in the heat. I mean, the one thing that worries me is if Texas wins the World Series and then everybody loves everybody, and it's let's get the band back together type deal.
Yeah.
And he's swayed by that. And I just read today that Texas just signed some new big TV contract down in Texas. Yeah. And they have money to play with. That makes me extremely nervous. But I think the Yanks are going to throw a boatload of money at him and sign him. And, if you bring Pettit back, and he's 50-50 in terms of retirement, but, rotation of Sabathia, Lee, Pettit, Hughes, and A.J. Burnett as a fifth starter is pretty good. I'll take my chances with that. I think they need another bat. I'm not really a big proponent of Jason Worth, and I wasn't really a big proponent of throwing a lot of money at Carl Crawford because I'm not sure if he's a $15 million upgrade over Brett Gardner. Yeah. But based on the postseason, what their bats did, maybe they do need another bat. I don't know. I'd like to see them get a catcher. They have two catching prospects, Montero, who is more of a bat than a catcher, and Austin Romine, who's more of a catcher than a bat, but that's someplace to get a little bit younger and move Posada into more of a DH role. You're in the same spot that the Red Sox are in, where Crawford doesn't make sense unless there's also a trade. Like the Red Sox would have to then trade Ellsbury, I think. And I think the Yankees, if they sign Crawford, would then probably flip Gardner. I think Gardner would have value. Yeah, unless they could do something with Swisher, but Gardner probably has more value. I don't know. I mean, Francesa the other day talked about the need to get younger, and if you could move Jeter to third and move A-Rod to DH. Oh God! To get younger at shortstop, but in this scenario, he never mentioned who the young shortstop was that they're going to go get. That's going to be a big bat and a big glove at shortstop. Yeah, they don't need to do that yet. I think they can get by with another year of Jeter at shortstop. Yeah, and it's going to. I also think he's going to be in great shape next year. And yeah, bounce back here. I mean, they're not getting any younger on the left side of the infield, but I'm not sure that the infield was really the problem, and it was just a collective. I mean, they got beat in every aspect of the game, like I said before. There's nothing. It's not like I could point to one thing. Oh, if only they had done this. I mean, Texas beat them. But Texas just made them look ridiculous. Well, the good news is that you have the modern-day Babe Ruth playing second base. So as long as he's on the team. What do you think? Do you think he can hit? Scary. Huh? Robinson Cano is so good, it's scary. Do you think he could hit 400 next year with 70 homers? This is a serious question. Not even kidding. This is the continuation of your reverse tweets there now. Reverse jinx. Tweets. I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I was so inflamed. What do you mean? Yeah, right. That you had to explain to the enormous Texas Ranger fans who've been fans for about 6 weeks now of their team. Their beloved. I had a little trouble with the concept, but I still don't know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. I was most disappointed to get tweets and emails from people back in Massachusetts who could believe I was rooting for the Yankees. I'm like, really? Come on. I had to do it because this is something that you kind of perfected last year. Yes. And I had to somehow kind of see. I'm a pathetic Red Sox fan whose team didn't even make the playoffs. All I have was the Yankees losing. That's all I had to be happy about, was for them to somehow screw up. See, I would have thought that after 2 World Series in the past 7 years that you would have been over that, but I guess 86 years of abject failure. It's a little hard to get beyond that. All we have is each other now. We both won in this decade. All we have is our mutual hatred. That's true. If one of us is out, then we root for whoever's playing the other team. I thought after 2 World Series you'd be done being the little brother to the Yankees, but I guess 86 years is just a hard burden to overcome. How dare you? I will say the one thing that for how many years in a row have we heard that Cano is a potential MVP? Yeah. And people, you talk to people around the Yankees, and they'll tell you Cano is an MVP bat. He can win one someday. And all that, yeah. Got so old hearing it. Right. And then it happened. It's true. Yes. I love Robinson Cano. He's so good. How terrified on a scale of 1 to 10 were you of Hamilton? Well, extremely, because everything he hit. I mean, they couldn't get him out. Yeah. I mean, I was like a 9. The guy's finally living up to every, ounce of potential that he had for years and years. And, I mean, I guess it's a feel-good reclamation story. I couldn't quite feel too good about it because I was rooting for the team he was playing against. But now, in retrospect, I mean, it's amazing from where the guy was to where he is now. They can't get the guy out. Did you lock out on the Nelson Cruz homer? Yeah. That was it? Yeah. 5-1? Yes. Yeah, I was done then. I did not see the comeback in Game 1. That was all she wrote. Oh, you mean in Game 6 when he hit that? Game 6, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was all she wrote, yeah. Once the Rangers took the lead, I was just like, oh, boy, because the Yankees were playing from behind the entire series. The key there was to get a lead and take the crowd out of it. Yankees needed to be up like by 5 or 6 runs, and then I would have felt comfortable. And then I think Game 7 there would have been a lot of pressure on the Rangers, never having been there before really, and Game 7 lurking. I think it would have been a different outcome potentially, but
we had a date that night, me and my wife, and it was West Coast time, so we had to leave, and that inning was happening, and I was like, we can't leave yet. I think they can finish him. And when Cruz came up, he's one of those hit or miss guys, literally. And I just kind of was like, I just kind of felt like something good was going to happen for the Rangers. I thought that was a really good moment. I know it wasn't for you, but just it was one of the better baseball moments of the playoffs. Like you kind of feel something was going to happen, then he cranked it, and all the fans who've been fans of the team for 10 minutes were going crazy. And it was really good. It was probably the best moment of that series, other than the Yankee comeback. But
the words of our previous podcast were echoing through my mind when you asked me who I was afraid of in the American League, and you went through the Rangers lineup. And you're like, Nelson Cruz, does it bother you? I'm like, nope, not at all.
Next time when we do that, you should just say that everybody bothers you.
That's the lesson that I've learned pretty much.
Nelson Cruz? Yes, bothers me. Terrified.
Even Toby Moreland, who I wouldn't have known if he walked into my house before the series started, and ended up hitting .453. I mean, you just can't make it up. You really can't.
It's really hard to believe that some of the relievers that are going to be in this World Series.
Oh, yeah. Jose Contreras is involved, right?
How about Javi Lopez?
Javi Lopez, right.
How about Ramon Ramirez, who we gave away for a bag of balls?
I know.
How about Darren Oliver?
Yeah, Darren Oliver.
Who's been on every team in the league.
Yeah.
How about that Clay Rapata?
Yes. A lot of the greats.
The one guy, and this is what I thought Washington's big mistake was in Game 1, was not going to Derek Holland over some of the other guys, because I had Derek Holland on my fantasy team. He was kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
And he'd been hurt. He came back, and he was the one guy out of all those guys that I felt like maybe would step up, and he rectified that as the series went on. I thought he pitched that 4 innings he pitched in that one game was really impressive.
No, he shut them down. But then again, so did the Hiroshima Carp, so I don't know if they're really saying much.
So now I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, Johnny.
Hiroshima Carp jersey.
Hiroshima Carp hat.
Yeah, I like the jersey, whatever number Colby Lewis wore for the Hiroshima Carp. That's what I want for Christmas.
I liked it. You know what made me feel good was right in the beginning of that Game 2 start. I think it was Game 2. And the announcer said, somebody asked him if he was nervous. And he's like, I'm not nervous. You know what makes me nervous is moving my family to Japan. And I was like, all right, Colby. Yeah.
So, yeah, Hiroshima Carp winning 2 games. I don't know what hurt me more, that or Toby Moreland's .453 performance. I mean, oh, my God.
Well, I think Colby Lewis won in the first series. I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive.
He must have.
But then if he wins, let's say just crazy, he wins 2 World Series games, too.
Yeah.
Like, really, Colby Lewis can have 5 playoff wins, 4 or 5 playoff wins?
Yeah.
And we spent $83 million on John Lackey. We could have spent $5 on Colby Lewis. How much did they pay for him?
They paid $20 in a flight from Japan.
And then flights for
an airline ticket to Texas.
They had a coach for his family and business class for him.
Yes.
Plus $20. That was the contract. So who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for the Giants.
Me too.
I like the old school teams. You know, the Rangers are like an expansion team, and the old school team, New York roots. That was the team all the Irish rooted for in New York because of John McGraw. 50-something years of ineptitude. You got to go for them.
It's funny, like the Giants-Dodgers, basically the same situation, but when the Dodgers left, all the New York people stopped rooting for them.
Right.
It was so bitter, but the Giants left. It was basically the same thing.
Right.
But the Giants had Willie Mays, so everybody was like, I'm bitter, but I'm going to keep rooting for Willie Mays, actually.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm still good with that team.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So Willie Mays
hated O'Malley, but they didn't hate, I can't even think of the guy's name. Horace Stoneham, who owned the Giants. There was, no hate for him.
Yeah, I think the Polo Grounds was such a farce that everybody kind of realized, what was it, 250 to right field?
Yeah, at 800 feet to straightaway center. It was a horseshoe. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I think it was such a ludicrous stadium. They were ready to see it go. All right, Johnny.
All right, buddy.
I wish I could say my condolences, but I wouldn't mean it.
Of course not.
I'll call you. We'll take a little break, and we'll call you in December when the Carl Crawford sweepstakes has reached about $160 million.
Hot stove. Good times.
All right. Talk to you.
All right. See you later.
so I get the cent off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
We wrap up the BS Report with this final thought. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so build a better one at Subway with tasty choices like the delicious 250 combo, a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee, and any scrumptious egg muffin melt. That's a lot of breakfast for a little coin. And for a limited time, come in before 11 a.m. for the two newest $5 footlong breakfast